This is a woodworking products review channel now. Got sick of all this crap taking up space in my drawers here, where I could never get it out of the boxes and whatnot without the boxes disintegrating and, you know, screws and nails stuff spilling out in the drawer. So I was at Home Depot earlier. You know, they got those Milwaukee pack out systems. They're like 50, 60 bucks for a box like this. It's a lot bigger than this. I'm not saying they're not worth it, but unless you really are moving your whole shop setup here or there, like as a contractor or something, it's really not worth it, because what's going to happen is it's not like you look at something like this and you're like, oh, I don't have all the bins in there, so it's really kind of a mess. But then you look at something like this and you're like, okay, it's organized. And then with the some of them, they've got the little cups still come out. You think, oh, that's super convenient. But the trouble is, if you do the Milwaukee pack out thing, what ends up happening is you've got a whole stack of these that are all locked together and you're at home, right? So like, where are you going to put them? Because your bench looks like this. So where are you going to unstack in order to get to the ones that are in the middle? So I decided not to do that. But all the same, these were the cheapest divider boxes they had that weren't made out of like polypropylene, you know, where it's like super flexible. Because with those ones, you drop them once and this lid is going to flex and all this stuff's going to pop out and fly everywhere. And I'm not saying this won't do that, but at least it is polycarbonate, so I'm guessing it is anyway. So it seems like a lower probability. At any rate, so I got this one. As you can see, I put all my sort of specialty screws in it, because of course 9 times out of 10 when I want a screw, I'm just going to grab one of the 2.5 inches or whatever they are. So that's all well and good, but these ones do have the ability to link together like the Milwaukee pack out. So I figured that's not a bad thing, and they come in it's a 2-pack for $15. Like, all this box was $15. So definitely like a Home Depot store brand loss leader, right? And they're not that badly made. Usually when you get little divider boxes like this, they have live hinge snaps. So it's literally just a piece of plastic. When you pull on it, it sort of flexes out of the way to pop over the latch. These ones, however, are actually, you know, they have, I actually just did that wrong. Whoops. Wow, I'm smart. There we go. It's actually a more proper type of, I don't know what you call this sort of latch, but, you know, that one, the one that you're used to on anything that's not literally a single piece of injection molded plastic, right? Now, I'm not saying these aren't going to break. These are definitely going to break. This is ABS at best, and it's not, you know, reinforced or anything, I'm sure. So this isn't going to last forever. But look, normally when you get one of these divider boxes, it's just a solid hunk of polypropylene. This one at least has some ABS, some more ABS probably, and some polycarbonate, right? So it's a step above the bare minimum, and it's $15 for 2 of them. And normally those cheap polypropylene ones in this size would be like $12 or $15 anyway for just one. So I figured, why not, right? And of course, you know, when you get into it, it's got the, again, polypropylene dividers, right? So they're not super robust. It's pretty wobbly. And if you think, oh, I'll take them out and I'll make these into long rectangles instead of squares, right? But you do that, and look, this dividing wall strengthens this guy here. So without it, the weight of the hardware actually pushes on it and threatens to pop it out of these notches, which actually doesn't seem unlikely. So I suspect that if I were to take this box and drop it on end, that this guy would deflect and all these would just mingle, right? But look, that's a risk with all of these. So this thing's still a step above the rest. What concerns me is actually the way that they fit together. So these actually do have their own stacking system. So if I latch that there and there and there and there, it's not as slick as the Milwaukee one. I mean, come on, for the price. But there we go. You can transport this all as one unit, and there's no particular reason that you couldn't keep stacking them as high as you wanted, right? These do continue to interlock. So you could have a whole pile of these things, and, you know, 20 of these would be like 150 bucks. And I guess 10 of them would be like 80 bucks, right? So that's not too bad if that storage works for what you're doing. Doesn't have wheels or anything, but okay. The trouble I have is it's a little bit of a minor problem I discovered. So I've got these latches open, right? The lid won't open because, and this is not a bad idea, the latches that combine the units together also serve as lid locks. So that if they're all snapped together, this is just a further insurance that it's not going to pop loose. And in addition to that, because despite being, you know, acrylic or polycarbonate or whatever, the top is still flexible. So it provides further security against this. So again, if I were to drop this on its back, say, which would tend to cause the top to buckle, like this, it would be less likely that these would be able to hop over the dividing walls. So these latches make sense. What sucks about them is, check this out. Okay, unlocked. Go a little further, and see if I can replicate it or if the plastic flexed. Yeah, it actually can catch on the latch. So you just throw this open, and because the tolerances are not fantastic, it can actually get caught on it. In fact, it was refusing to open at all earlier. So apparently, like the plastic already wore in and made that less of a problem. But still, the point is, it's not really, I don't know, it's not necessarily a design oversight so much as the fact that they made it out of materials that have low tolerances. You know, they're flexible, etc. There's no real there's sort of a detent in here. Like, you can feel it sort of wants to stop here. It gets tight when it tries to move past this point, but then it does pretty easily move past that point. And even if it doesn't keep you from opening it, it still keeps it from closing it all the way, which means you could end up sort of with this situation, not realizing it, and you gotta close the thing. So it's not a showstopper. I just thought it was interesting that they actually went relatively hard on these things, and then didn't put just like a little right angle flag at the end here. Would have kept that from happening. And the question is, all that said, it's secured, does it work? Yeah, I'd say so. Those don't look terribly mingled. So I think the presence of the slide latches on the side is probably more or less a good thing. There are a few nails in here that weren't there before, but, well, I don't know if they were there before because I did just pour all these nails in here. They could have been hiding down in the corners there. They're also very thin, right? So I can believe that this could make its way over the top. And I guess maybe that's a lesson not to keep extremely small things in divider boxes. But obviously all these are fine. This guy survived, etc. Let's stress test that. What if, like I said, if you were to drop this on this side, would this divider flex? I suspect it would. Okay, so these are doing okay. These nails are kind of trying to escape, but oh man, look at that. Yeah, it wants to buckle. If I do it again, maybe from a little higher. It still hasn't buckled. Like, it's flexing, but that's mostly just because the screws are bunching up, right? So pushing on a little harder. Meanwhile, I'm not seeing any more things crossing the barrier. Maybe these little nails, I think might be. I suspect I'm going to find them all through this thing later. But a good, solid smash, and we still don't seem to get any crossover between the cells, except for the really small stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess if you don't actually need to build a proper, tool chest, and you don't need to wheel it from site to site and whatnot, honestly, these seem pretty robust. I guess you probably wouldn't regret it. The one thing I will say though, I'm noticing that the latches here only work at the back. So look at that. It's a single attachment point. So when it breaks, it's going to break there. And that's not really the end of the world. But I think what it means is if you were carrying this and you had a lot more weight in one side than the other, there's a chance that it would just sort of peel off, just rip the little tab here right off. So the other thing, of course, is that the Milwaukee Packout is automatic, right? So when I think it is. I don't have much experience with it. I checked it out in the store. You put these things down, you slide them together, they go clunk, and now they're together, right? It's pretty hard to miss. The fact that these are flush in the front, however, does not mean that these ones are. So you could just, whoops, and it turns out they weren't stuck together, even though they kind of were. And getting them to line up again can be a little iffy. But even worse, right? You pick this one up and whoops, there it goes. Now that's sort of common sense, right? Hey, did you know that if things aren't attached to each other, that they won't move together? Who knew? And honestly, the amount of plastic they have linking these things together is pretty good. That's like, that's a good It's a good 1/4 inch, and it's relatively thick, and it has a lip on it. So it comes out and then goes up. So I would say it's actually pretty secure. So honestly, for being store brand Husky, which is a step above Harbor Freight in my experience, I don't know. It feels like they went harder than they really had to. Actually did kind of a decent job. And the only caveat is, just like with all these divider boxes, don't keep really small things in there. Anything, you know, under probably 1/8 of an inch in diameter, probably going to scoot out of there. So if you had ball bearings, washers, something like that, or, you know, finish nails, obviously you're gonna have a bad time. And that sort of bodes poorly for this situation, because you'd kind of think that's what these are all for. But I don't know, I'm probably gonna sort nuts and bolts into them. So yeah, that's the most effort anyone's ever put in to an opinion on something that costs $8.